真正成为大乘佛法的内涵呢，我们一定要先升起大乘的菩提心，所以我们只有升起了大乘的菩提心呢，才能让我们听闻的佛法呢成为大乘佛法。OK， 给上了。
呀，当然讲着等等，上一次确实嘛，这刚当不你给这刚当不的给甲有关系，你把这个甲数做吹的些，是吧？甲数做汤的样，这在地站当，在前面的这个安推国防站嘛因吧，讲究码头几把都来呀，可能热点钱甲数这个颜色，讲着这些，是吧？
So while we're reciting this refuge formula or the refuge verse, the first two lines are first two lines with regard to taking refuge in 3 jewels, and then next next 2 lines are the cultivation of bodhicitta. So here now, I take refuge in 3 jewels. Until I am enlightened. So here it's saying I take refuge in Shrisha until I'm enlightened. Is now we're not talking about just I take refuge in 3 jewels. Your purpose of taking refuge in 3 jewels is just to gain a high rebirth in one's future life, such as rebirth in human gods and demigods and so on. But rather, the very sole purpose of taking refuge in 3 jewels is to gain state of enlightenment. Therefore, it says, I take refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha until I am enlightened.
Yeah, that is the that man to dig up the dagi training give it so nam you draw up in just you do say go over. Don't or Nima. She again when in any dagi tracy give it so nam you draw up in just you do shows. Or the security and or the Indizamanda, also the Maransia, Shagan when in Chiraco, Casori, Yama Gomanyon Bajic down, Termanyon Bajic, Asia, your mother, the Dangaransuchi, Sama Chero, Nang Pensure, or the Indizaman, the Gazu Tutuji, Rosso Gazusian Bajan, parts of Goshagan, the Dendeki Pendog, some Luton, and Dendek Jeguore. 결혼 년龄 원림배네요. 아니지 에멘든 계시기 직시에 요르시도 아니 코가르다지 셰로 예나 삼네 근데 견체야 저부터인데 제베나 아니 펜도 영화에 잡리야 아니 소소리야 디부사해 년가 요로 디인데 zaman 가서 상매 꾸는 약주 거야 디 게첨버레스 디인데 아니 다기 최년 기비 소남기 다 된다 가르치도 인세나 아니 디 마치 녜녜바디 삼바도 곰은 디냐 림베 제는 상기 고반 토베기 체도 디양 안에 셈전 탐지기 체도 인삼보 도스 제구요레스.
So that when we recite the next 2 lines, so there's a particular the words that need to be replaced while we are engaging in while we're receiving the teachings of the Dhamma. Is now instead of saying by the virtue of giving and so forth, we should replace a verse. We should replace the word by saying that by the virtue of listening to the teachings of the Dharma, may I gain the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. This should be replaced, and then also the teacher who is actually giving the teachings must also replace this word by saying, by means of my teachings of the Dharma, by merits of my teachings of the Dharma, may I gain the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. This is how both teacher and the listeners should be replacing the word replacing this word. And so now, here,
sorry.
I haven't finished. I'm sorry. Here, it is. So it is. Therefore, it's very important for us to, cultivate appropriate motivations, the motivations of bodhicitta, to become beneficial of one's receiving of the teachings of the Dharma. So here, you should not attend the teachings by saying that, yes, there's the Gishi in Edmonton Center, the Buddhist center, who's giving the teachings. I must go and see what he's going to say. And with the motivation of, with the negative motivations and so forth, will not benefit for both of us. So therefore, if you are really listening to the teachings of the Dharma, you should do so by cultivating appropriate motivations, because the motivations plays a very critical role in our practice of Dharma, and as well as listening to the teachings of the Dharma as well. So therefore, I may not have much thing to say. I may not have something that you have never heard, but whatever the knowledge that I have, I'm here to share with you all as a Dharma brothers and sisters. That is all my intention. My intention is to share my knowledge with my Dharma brothers and sisters.
所以呢，今天在听法之前，我们刚刚讲了说，我们要念皈依跟这个发菩提心4句。那这个头2句呢，最主要是皈依颂。那这个皈依颂的时候呢，最主要我们要思维呢，这我们讲到说，诸佛妙法众中尊，乃至菩提我皈依。所以我们今天皈依的目的呢，并不是为了我们想要得到这个增上生，想要来生能够投生这个人天乐趣，而是呢，我们希望呢，我们能够证得这个圆满的佛果位，所以我今天来皈依。那这个第3句、第4句呢，就是我行施等诸善根，为利有情，愿成佛。那在这里呢，我们应该把这个我行施等诸善根这个行施呢，把它换成是我听法等诸善根。那因为我们今天是来这个听法的，以这个听法的善根，那这个老师呢，同样的这个讲法的老师呢，也会把这个行施呢改为我教法等诸善根，为利有情，愿成佛。所以同样的老师跟学生都会把这个行施呢做一个转换。那在这里很重要的是说，我们要升起这个正确的听闻佛法的意乐，那就是要升起菩提心。那这个能够有这个正确的意乐呢，我们才能够真正得到这个听法的利益。我们不应该去想呢，今天是因为这个在加拿大 Edmonton Center 有一个 Geshe-la 呢要上课要传法，所以呢我想随便想来，我想听听看他有什么好说的，而是呢我们要真正能够说是升起这个菩提心来听法，那这样子我们才能够得到这个听法的利益。如果反之来讲呢，反过来说呢，如果你没有升起正确的意乐的话，那你当然就不能够得到这个正确的，不能够得到这个听法的利益。那Geshe-la在这里很谦虚的讲说，他也没有什么东西好真正可以教给大家的。那在这里呢，就是想要跟大家分享一下他的这个佛学的这个知识和教授。OK， Geshe-la。
야, 다들 아니 상계 최소만 잘 숨냠도 된 것으로.
Please join me to recite the refuge verse 3 times.
所以大家，我们今天一起来念3遍皈依发心文。
상계 최단 저기 조남라 장주 버도 다네 교수제 다기 최제게베 조남게 졸라 펜지 상계 주바르쇼 상계 최단 저기 조남라 장주 버도 다네 교수제 다기 최제게베 조남게 졸라 펜지 상계 주바르쇼 상계 최단 저기 조남라 장주 버도 다네 교수제 다기 주제기 배송남기 rol라 펜지르 상기 로바르쇼 다 니마께 단데 제와드 따규라 이 말에 미네 콘스디 당 땡구도
제가 견라 마송
ngay dakin kyo nang tang tang yu kyo talong disura ya marwa
좀 마송 기슬라 견좀 마송
ine 콘스디 동강 땡구도
마다 데 쿠피아 칸 제 랑콘 라메 대진
이게 차상도 저거 이기다.
면도 라 나도 면도.
아,
나도 면도.
차상 저거네요. 오야, 되는 당 안주 시야디 제제기다 최저부디 다량아니 군농주에도 딕사와저 말베. 다 시야기 최디 엔 칸상 건조다네 셰럽님부지 딜마시에나세도. 당아랑 디 셰럽님부시야디 되바유. 가르세나 셰럽님부디 디르방니 상제 좀된데기 다지 잠불링레 페네 총고를 코리아기 고베 쪼저부디 아니 디르와 셈젠 탐제 아니지 미네베 양델이야 고베 기체 들어와 어디다 셈젠 탐제 미네베 양델 고발라 아니 지 동번이기 되마 땡제네 아니 당진 빵네 아니 상계 고방 두고 요르와 다 디체의 페버 인상 안 상계기 최기 인부디 인식도 하다 셔싱기 흉기
So with this positive motivations, the subject matter of the teaching that I will be doing today is Sherabnyingpu, which is Heart Sutra, Prajna Paramita, and I myself it's very interested in giving such teachings. They're very profound teachings because this particular teaching, when the Buddha came to this world and turned the wheel of Dharma, and this particular teachings is which belongs to the second turning of the wheel of the Dharma. That's which is the teachings of the Prajna Paramita or the Heart Sutra. And so the purpose of the Buddha's teaching is to establish entire sentient beings to the state of non-abiding nirvana. That is the purpose of the teachings of the Buddha. So how all sentient beings to establish to the non-abiding nirvana, by what means? Is by giving the teachings of what we call the emptiness. That is through the giving the teachings of emptiness and practicing and contemplating and meditating upon the emptiness will enable individual to free themselves from grasping at self of person and grasping at self of phenomena. Therefore, with this elimination of grasping of self of phenomenon will enable one to gain the state of complete enlightenment. So therefore, this is the very profound and vast teaching, the subject matter that we are discussing today.
所以呢，刚刚已经讲了，我们应该升起正确的意乐来，今天来听闻佛法。那我们今天要讲的这个题目呢，要传法的这个题目呢，就是《般若波罗蜜多心经》。那给舍拉说呢，他自己呢是很高兴来跟大家呢教授这个《般若波罗蜜多心经》，因为呢这个世尊来到这个娑婆世界。转法轮，那般若波罗蜜多心经呢，事实上是在这个二转法轮当中的。那这个世尊转法轮的目的呢，就是要将一切的有情众生呢，安住于这个无住涅槃。那什么是最殊胜的方便或者方法呢？能够让安立一切有情于无住的涅槃呢？那最主要呢，就是讲说空性。让这一切的有情众生呢，能够去闻思修空性，才能够将众生安立于无住的涅槃。因为听闻空性呢，才能够让我们断除我们的人我执和法我执。只有断除了人我执或者法我执和其法我执呢， 我们才能够真正证得圆满的佛果位。OK， 给上。
哦呀，今天的南京巴鲁的巴拉，我的这些我什么时的，我让大家提军是不是吧？提军党、龙军党、龙军的因为龙的预备，那提面上的这说说两些协务这卡些我的那些就没为呢，进来的军着就你把这个个有吧的没些了，我的你我让的提托蛮样子，那都是件好songs。
I was intended to give these teachings maybe a couple of years ago. What actually prevented me from giving these teachings a couple of years ago is because I did not have lineage blessings of explanatory lineage blessings, in other words. Although I have received oral transmissions, but I did not receive any explanations. I did not possess this lineage, the unbroken lineage of the explanatory or the explaining explanation. So therefore, because in order to give it, give a commentary on certain sutra or whatever it may be, it is far more beneficial to have a master or the teacher who's actually giving this teaching to someone, should have unbroken lineage of the blessings from the teachers.
所以呢，给舍利在这里讲呢，事实上呢，他几年以前就想要教授这个般若波罗蜜多心经，但是当时呢，他并没有这个解释的口传，那他只有这个经文的口传。所以事实上，这个口传有两种，一个是解释的口传，一个是经文的口传。所以呢，事实上，如果说是讲到传授这个般若波罗蜜多心经的话，那传授这个老师如果有这个没有间断的解释口传的话，那是对大家来讲是最有利益的。OK。
哦呀，他今天开场呢，你dunja开始这个来，你滚动的这一句呢，现在民国送出去哪说啊？我的得需要送是，我的你讲，俺你提军着的地理是这些，俺场面的忙起来个生意有什么多，你就怎么样滚动公路民不接，俺大家地产呢，俺这送去军人不蛮难为人讲，俺给行给我这个真的是，他送下去对谁买了哇？我的你当俺是第八里啊，这我这就老。and parts who do stay in and Chama Pento Resamneta, go to your Jumcenter with the days.
So, as I mentioned earlier, that I do have oral transmission, the lineage of oral transmission, but I did not have the commentary. But then a couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to receive the teachings of Heart Sutra, the commentary by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, via social media. It was live teachings that His Holiness was giving, and so I, consider this as receiving the commentary from His Holiness of this Heart Sutra, because now, as you all know, that if you are receiving His Holiness teaching right now, nowadays, His Holiness is often giving the teachings on online, but it doesn't give it is very in a limited time. It is due to his age and his condition of his body and so on. So he just give it very brief. But then I think it is more than enough for me to receive the commentary from His Holiness, even though he's given a very brief commentary. But I definitely consider myself who actually received the commentary from His Holiness.
所以呢，刚刚跟大家解释了这个给舍利在这里讲呢，他几年以前因为没有这个解释的口传，所以呢，没有这个机会来跟大家教授这个般若波罗蜜多心经。那刚刚好在这个几个礼拜以前呢，达赖喇嘛尊者呢，在这个电视上呢，给予了这个教授了般若波罗蜜多心经。 所以呢，给舍拉的就说他是借这个机会呢，他就觉得他是已经得到了达赖喇嘛尊者的这个解释口传，可以解释这个教授波尔波罗蜜多心经。那大家都知道呢，达赖喇嘛现在的教法呢，不管是在电视上或者是这个本人呢，事实上的时间都很短，因为他的年纪跟这个健康的关系。所以呢，在这里呢，给舍拉很高兴呢，他虽然在这个短短的达赖喇嘛尊者的这个教授期间呢，他觉得他自己已经得到了这个解释口传教授。解释的这个口传可以传授这个波尔波罗蜜多心经。OK， 给上。
呀，那今年亚这里呀，开上俺就的，시주에서 저우디 가서 그래. 자와 저우디 다 그 아주 남균 된데 셰르미 뭐 그런 도랑제. 다디 강래 당아니 제와디 아니 존이 림부체 잡으시 줍기 단다 제와지도와 어디 강 제기제네. 다콘 상말디 야이 톨레 제와드라디세 빼하고도 어디 인정 아주 딘마다 갈래갈래 로그 젠 존나 디기어다 딘망에
The commentary that I will be giving today, of course, based on the Heart Sutra that we normally recite, that we are all familiar with. But then the actual commentary that I'm using is it's a Chongni Rinpoche, and I knew that all of you have this commentary in Chinese, so this will be really helpful for you while you're receiving the teachings. And so I will just go through the reading of the commentary and then try to explain where I think there needs some explanation.
所以呢，今天给舍拉要传授的这个心经呢，也就是平常我们在念的这个版本。那大家都非常熟悉这个心经，我们在念的这个版本。那这个给舍拉要依据这个心经的这个释论，这个释论呢，也就是大家可以在这个 Zoom 上面可以看得到的。那谢谢景慧呢，帮我们找到了中文的版本，所以呢，给舍拉基本上呢，他就是会给大家从这个解释这个释论，他会念过去，然后呢，在许多地方他觉得需要解释的地方，那就会跟大家解释这个释论的说法。OK， 给舍拉。
景慧 can you show the text? Okay. Nima logi rasar be. Nima logi ragdo be.
Oh, Lord, rasar.
Oh yeah. That diksha. Ona dangani dewadi digang ma hija rogi ine danga dewadi yang an lungdan ti gang yo mare dangani japnye se di pegi zawase wada do khorong rang le donda da go yi chi do nani di dewana ma dwer ma danga dewe tole yang lungdan ti dang ji gang yo mare odi indung azu dinde desire.
So Kishla Yanke Sunanga.
Oh, danangani dewadi dan dijidoa chonire mushigi dewadi ngani dilaya ngal dewadang akasati lungdang ti gang yo mares inganzo pegi sherap ingbi donda ha goya gi chedo any di dewad logi insrwa.
Although that I'm using this the commentary by Chongni Rinpoche, I have not received oral transmission as well as the commentary on this particular text. I'm using this particular text. It's just to as a reference, but just to make sure that I have not received myself commentary and the oral transmission of this particular text.
Oh yeah.
sorry， 给说了所以呢，这个给说了在这里讲呢，他虽然今天是要用这本《般若心经释》来跟我们大家教授《般若波罗蜜多心经》，不过事实上他并没有这一个释论的这个口传，并没有得到释论的口传，所以他基本上呢会用这个释论呢作为大家的这个参考资料，可以吗 ？OK， 给说。
哦呀，那你看的国家了，确实的嘛，login的，确实的这里多安尼。Namu Guru Manzu Goha Yas, the Namusina Lam di Chatsewaje, Guru Senene, Dirwa Lamache, the Manzu Goha Senene, and Jambianche, and Yase the Lache, the Kanda Lama Jambian Chasalu said the Diche, Rwa.
Is that sure? They sharing you pages, Langa Donamato. Yadi sharing you pages, go Girogisla.
Yeah, then the Gogi Mari, that didn't matter to Mari.
Oh, less.
Alhamdulillah.
Last. Last one. Okay.
Chitang Joe Corona, the sheriff in Bitsi Galgansam do.
Oh, last. Last one. Tanya page very much is spread for a dejim desera, killing him with agent. Oh, last one. Tana Konima, Kisla Uju Naimba. So, that's with it's the text actually begins from paying homage to Manjushri by by reading in Sanskrit verses Namo, I prostrate or I pay homage, Guru Manju Gogaya, it's Guru Manjushri.
所以呢，在这个心经的释论开始呢，就首先礼赞。那礼赞的对象是谁呢？就是文殊上师。南无Guru Manju Gogaya。OK。
哦呀，当然你Nima di Joyce di说个什么多Joyce当不的上个中间的是吧？东北中间的都是这些，当然你看这是的是多，现在咱们基金今年呢，今年做了这位东这边，现在东北那没有吧？突然没有你们国家才是了呢。
So the first verse is the praise to Buddha Shakyamuni, which I will briefly translate in English. Who have gained the knowledge of the profound dependent originations, the profundity of dependent originations, and this has been taught to disciples by means of compassion, loving and compassion, and an unsurpassable teacher who possesses great wisdom. And I prostrate to you, the Buddha, who is the teacher, unsurpassable teacher.
所以呢，第一句呢，由见甚深缘起性，大悲教化诸群蒙，无上智慧及导师，能亡教日恭敬礼。这最主要的呢，这4句呢是在这个礼赞释迦牟尼佛。他由于这个见到这个甚深缘起，而且呢以这个大悲心呢教化一切的有情，是具备这个无上智慧的导师，能亡教日恭敬礼。我在这里做礼敬。OK， 可是。
哦呀，那你的给钱不着急多，可是呢，现在咱们基金今年呢，今年做了这位东这把是了的话，但上个中间的可能就俺老板南京那个呢，人家萨拉姆呢讲呢，被这可是我当不讲究叫做什么的，把都给钱当面什么都被高级的操杀，但他们我们做个上阶差不多，现在咱们基金都是呢上阶差不多是吧？因那样。按这个让你上阶差不多，当然东岸界没有差那样，说是被几乎间的马修不接，你这往的样，说是特别过分，大不这个毛白的，这个身边他们这里的就特别简单什么呢？这个呢，现在东北我都是南北的是了呢，这些多啊，我第一个
I think it's very important to explain little bit about the verse, the praise to Buddha Shakyamuni, saying that Buddha, right from the beginning of on his spiritual path, right from the beginning of his spiritual path, generation of bodhicitta in the beginning, and accumulating the merits for 3 countless eons, and finally gained the state of enlightenment. And so now, having achieved enlightenment, Buddha just satisfied by himself and, without working for the welfare of other sentient beings. So he has not done that. But rather by means of his compassion, the force by his compassion and loving and sense of caring for other beings, whatever the state of enlightenment that he has achieved, and he wholeheartedly, establishing all other sentient beings to the state of enlightenment as he achieved. It is therefore Buddha then decided himself to, to propound these teachings of the dependent originations to other beings, to establish other beings to the state of enlightenment.
所以呢，在这里呢，给肖老说呢，这个有必要解释一下这个第一季。那第一季呢，主要的是我们前面讲过是礼赞释迦牟尼佛。那释迦牟尼佛呢，从开始升起菩提心，然后经过3大阿僧祇劫的积聚福德智慧资粮，最后证得了圆满的佛果位。可是释迦牟尼佛呢，证得圆满佛果位之后呢，并没有就是说去享受他证得的这个佛果位，而是呢是以他这个对一切有情的大悲心、慈悲心为出发点，全心全意的尽力做这个法的事业，安利一切有情至这个无住涅槃。所以呢，为了要能够安利一切有情呢，至无住涅槃呢，所以教授了这个缘起戒。OK。
我也在当我们写了吧。大地我的呢，就是想你，개와 군기 투지 찍드니 게시 조니 가르기 시숨 데르 예외 제바 타다 죽전바 게시 투 제레시글 듀슬람네다 셰럽 닝부 메겔리아 디오딜링기 추두 아니 마병겐디 제레시 당 셰리부 인장다 단데디 아니 제레시를 되차제로와.
The next verse is the verse, homage verse to the Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion. It is because the discussion, it is subject matter of this particular text of Heart Sutra is a teaching actually given by means of questioning and answering, between the question and answer between Buddha compassion or the Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra. It is therefore the second verse, second homage we made to is Avalokiteshvara.
那下一个礼赞呢，就是第2季礼赞呢，诸佛大悲摄一体，三有之中童子系，无边佛业精进成佛子观音恭敬礼。在这里呢，就是礼赞观世音菩萨。因为我们今天讲授的这个般若波罗蜜多心经呢，事实上它以什么方式来讲授的呢？就是这个般若波罗蜜多心经呢，就是观自在菩萨和舍利子以这个问答的方式来进行的。OK。
呀，那第一节嘛，原来现在抽取写入zabden这些都大家，叫你把也是来对呢，现在你不那么些丢了家是啷们？那第一아니 벌써 그래디 자원이 yapse 라뚜니 라뚜 세다 바도 아니 다긴 공도 시에바 나신 아니 디버딜린 제버보 야지 샤리부르와 샤리부제 아니 딘마다 상계 좀 된데 시 슈베 카둘라 디오딜링 추도 마수 아니 디 젤야 아니 균진 더분 남겐디 아니 루룹당 디세 다와다바당 아니 개원이바 다지 잠골라마 쫑가바 첨부 얍시 라소반 마 다데 바르둘이야 아니 지 균이 용간기 지 소르다 자규기 라마 탐제레 차체기 인세야스로 지르와
So the third verse is paying homage to, particularly paying homage to Shariputra, as we talked about earlier, that this Heart Sutra, the teachings of the Heart Sutra, is giving in the dialectical way of exchanging question and answer between Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra. So next verse, that paying homage, particularly paying homage to the Shariputra, and along with other, great commentator of the Persian Paramita, such as Nagarjuna and Chandrakriti, and then also the great, great masters of Lama Tsongkhapa and his spiritual sons. So therefore, we're paying homage, particularly paying homage to the Shariputra, along with the great masters of the India, such as Nagarjuna, Sherpa, Chandrakriti, Lama Tsongkhapa, along with his two spiritual masters, as well as other great masters or root and lineage masters.
所以呢，第三句呢，最主要就是在这里礼赞舍利佛，礼赞舍利子，尊者舍利子。那大家知道，我们前面讲过了，这个般若波罗蜜多心经进行的方式呢，最主要就是以这个问答的方式，问答就是舍利子菩萨跟这个观自在菩萨之间的问答。那同样的也在礼赞这个其他这个大师。就是这其他大师呢，最主要就是对般若波罗蜜多心经呢，又做了更一层解释的。例如这个印度的这个龙树和月称菩萨及这个第二法王父子呢，就是指的是宗喀巴大师父子。所以在这里呢，就是在礼赞这个印度的这个大成就者和这个宗喀巴的这个父子。和其他的这个对般若波罗蜜多心经的这个传承祖师。OK。
나한테는 딘남라 아니 구차 제네 다카르지긴스나 아니 셰르브닝부기 아니 데와 마 짬기 인슬람다 디 좀바 담자제르와.
So then, by paying homage to those great beings, what we'll be then doing? Having paying homage to those great beings, then from this, it will then, going on to the promise or the pledge of composing the text.
所以呢，这个礼赞完了以后呢，下面就是这个作事造论。OK。
오야, 나디 간주 뛰어샤 된데 제고 김sen지 시에나 야고요레로와 가레스나 자와 상부 된데 제디 자만에 버제 망부 용고요. 버제 용도 자만 참참나는 좀바 타르 친마서 버라고. 뭐 참참래야 아니지 어딘데 기다 강에 망부 용고요와 제장 용야 가레 용고르스나 아니지 소소기 소남기 갭마 켜봐 된데 기찬이 용고요. 디인디 아니지 뛰어차 제베이나 아니지 상계당 장주서버데서 뛰어차 제베이나 쇠남사고요. 쇠남사베이나 아니 좀바 타르침바당 아니 버제 마용바당 어 된데 기다 개바요레서 디찬엔 추주지고요레서 두숨도와.
So here now reason for paying homage, the homage verse is, so if you look at the most of the texts, the commentaries and so on, you will find in the beginning of the text is a homage verse. So the reason for having this homage verse and the composer actually pay homage to the great beings is because whenever we are engaging in certain, wholesome act, the wholesome actions, there is always, or the virtuous act, in other words, there is always obstacles. So it is for this purpose, the composer will pay homage to the great beings, of the masters of the past, to complete their obstacle, to remove the obstacles and complete their commentary, complete their commentaries as they plan. So therefore, it is for sometimes it happens due to this obstacles. You may not be able to complete the compose your whatever the text that you are composing, and so it is due to one's own lack of adequate accumulation of merits. So this may happen. So it is therefore by paying homage to those great beings of the past will actually accumulate merits and also overcome the obstacles of composing the text.
所以呢，下面呢，在这里呢，我们刚刚讲到说，这个前面3句呢都是礼赞文。那这个礼赞文的原因呢，就是为什么要在这个书首礼赞呢？在大部分的经论里面，我们一开始都可以看到是礼赞这个诸佛菩萨和过去的大成就者。那在这个书首要前面，就是书的前面，经论的前面要做礼赞的原因呢，就是因为不管我们在做任何善行的时候呢，通常我们都会遇到有障碍。所以呢，在这里书首礼赞呢，就是书的前面做礼赞文，作者做礼赞文的目的呢，就是希望呢能够这个顺利去除一切的障碍，能够顺利圆满的这个造论。所以呢，这个顺利圆满的造论呢，怎么样才能够有这个顺圆呢？就是要积聚这个资粮。所以在这里呢，就是以书首礼赞的方式呢，来积聚资粮，去除这个造论的障碍。OK。
다 시랍 님베기다 님시 디긴 송송다 디디엘에 데센 가올 고시 갭 숭긴 디긴세데 아니 디세도와 딜라 숨스 다 지르 자메돈라 주고버 템바스 갑지 중둔 셰바체 다 잡둔 리베 텐라 베트 도르드니 셰바스람네 사지 숨기 보낸다 시랍 님 텐라 버긴스람네 어딘데.
So the explanation of the commentary of this Heart Sutra is given on the basis of laying out the 3 steps. First, in general, the purpose of engaging in the teaching, purpose of engaging in the meaning of Oh
yeah.
Okay, so engaging in this the teachings of profound teachings, engaging in these profound teachings in general, and particular explaining the meaning of the Heart Sutra. And then the third is followed by all the teachings, the profound teachings must be taught briefly by establishing a valid reasoning.
所以呢，下面就进入这个释论的这个正文。那正文呢，最主要呢就是分成3个大的部分。那第一个大的部分呢，就是总释。总释呢，就是总的来讲，我们为什么一定要去学习？我们要去入这个甚深义，甚深义呢，也就是指的是这个缘起见。那第二个 部分呢，甲2就是正说论义，就是这个释论里面到底是这个正说就是指这个释论里面这个最主要的内容。那甲3呢，就是要由这个正理呢来成立这个释论的内容。OK。
哦呀，那的subject dus呢，过去讲呢，descent所呢，马松呀与路线的雅尔流门的话，雅尔流嘛是的话，第一就这样，不会给大家开发的这个dus呢，descent 过去讲个所有的不会对吧？是第一就俺就，那别就是马达那马达到一那别大地不修不是吧？眼地不修不，我这里有的是。
So here now the system of this template, the template system, was not really found in Indian, commentaries written by the great Indian masters. But this system, the template system, is established in Tibet by the great Tibetan masters in Tibet. So it's very, it's a very convenient having this template system. It's very convenient for us to really to look at the teachings and go through the template by template. It's a very convenient. They made so very convenient for the followers.
所以呢，事实上我们刚刚在这里讲，把这个释论分成3个部分，也就是平常我们讲说的这个科判。那这个科判的这一个科判的这个标明科判呢，这样子的说法呢，或者这样子的写法呢，事实上呢，在印度的经典里面是找不到的。可是呢，在这个西藏的经典里面呢，大家就可以常常看到这个科判。所谓的科判就是刚刚我们讲的说这个此中分3 ，OK， 那这3点是什么东西？所以呢，这个科判的这个形式呢，是真正是在这个西藏的经典里面可以常常看到。那由于这个科判，大家对科判的清楚能够有清楚的了解呢，那对整个的正文呢就会有更清楚的了解它的来龙去脉。OK。
哦呀，当然也是去当不了，咱们原来就过把电把些，是去当不的，他还是呢，是吧？他定嘛，俺你老给那个理解呢，是吧？
So we relate to the first outlines, which is the engaging in the profound meanings, engaging in the profound meanings.
所以呢，我们现在先看甲1，总是应须去入甚深意。OK。
哦呀，那这些多，他对你这位刚了就把这位悉尼也点把赢了，你那呢讲当年就到错了就过把赢的是了，是吧？
So here what it says is now individual who long to achieve liberations, and what kind of practice that you should be engaging is you engaging in the practice of the teachings of the Dharma. In other words, engaging in the practice, teachings of the Buddha, and among the teachings of the Buddha, the most important teachings that we need to practice, we need to follow, is to follow the teachings that actually propounds the perfect view of emptiness.
所以呢，在这里先看第一句，就是欲求解脱之士夫。所谓的士夫呢，就是个人的意思，就是说欲求解脱的任何的这个想要求解脱的人呢，他应该要做什么呢？那当然就是要去学习这个佛陀的教法。那这个佛陀的教法当中呢，最主要的核心跟根本是什么呢？就是指的甚深空性的正见。OK。
哦呀，那가르치는 데 주고 요래세이나 안 따와드는 또베 템바 탐제 이기 조레스 다가 다긴 안주 골직시 임바 템베 닝부 주용어마 더부디 아니 동이 또베 따와디 차데 요래 딘디 자만에 자만존 주고 요래스 라모 딘데리도와.
So here now next what it says is so this is what it says is now it is the essence of essence of all the teachings, or the source of all the teachings, in other words. So therefore, this is the teachings of insight that we already talked about earlier, that when speaking about wisdom realizing emptiness, perfect view of understanding emptiness is said to be the essence of all those realizations, the spiritual realizations. It is therefore it's very crucial to engage in receiving the teachings and practicing practicing such teachings, which actually serve as a source, or which is also considered to be at the essence of the teachings of all the Dharma.
Oh yeah, that don't
所以呢，
sorry.
阁下。所以呢，下面我们就讲到说，这个空性的正见呢，事实上是一切佛法的根本和来源。所以呢，在这个空正见呢，事实上也就是这个根本核心。所以非常重要的呢，我们就是要了解这个空性的这个重要，要能够证得，我们要欲求证得的果位的根本是什么呢？也就是叫证得空性。OK， 等一下。
Oh yeah, that is 동반이 되네. 상기기 숨기다 주시난 주제난에도 조딘장 뒷변배기 중대양, 是吧? 뒷변배 중니 엔 룽기 템바 탐제기 좀 인부인스, 是吧?
So just as the realization of emptiness is said to be the essence of all the spiritual realizations, similarly, the teaching that actually propounds the teachings of the emptiness is said to be the essence of all the scriptural knowledge of the scriptural teachings of the Buddha.
所以我们讲到说，我们想要证得的这个佛果位当中呢，证得空性是这个核心。那同样的呢，这个所有的佛法当中呢，也是以这个空性的教授是这个核心，是这个最根本的。OK。
Oh yeah, 윤sen 딜레테네 다 최점배 나네 양, 是吧? 최점바 탐제기 나네 양 안 텐데 사메 된 점바디 아니 촉도 줄밤 조디레스 다 만지 다긴 셰바 나시 나랑스 졸랭 망부제 요르데 아니 나랑스 다데 가서 동방이 된 졸랭 제야데 다 졸랭데 촉도 줄바디레스 랍초르.
So then also here it says, out of all the teachings of the Buddha, the teachings on the profound teachings on the dependent originations is said to be the supreme teaching among all the teachings. Similarly, when we have a Dharma discussions, we could consider that supreme among all the Dharma discussions is the Dharma discussions in relation to the discussions in relation to emptiness, or the profound, dependent originations.
所以呢，在这里下面讲到说，一切说法者中，宣说甚深缘起空性者，乃为最胜。所以对这个说法者来讲呢，宣说甚深缘起空性者呢，是最殊胜。那同样的呢，以此类推呢，当我们在讨论佛法的时候呢，也是以讨论空性呢，是最殊胜的。OK， 等一下。
呀，那呢，去写吧탐제기 나네 양 아니 텐데 사메 데코나니 셰바디 아니 초인데스도와 다 제장 안주지 하고야 셰야 돈도야 셰디 남랑 마부 시우죠데 디 나네다 초감 조저부디 아니 자모동바니 또밤 텐데 또바디 조디레스람 노디레시야 그봐.
So then out of the teachings of the Dharma, the supreme teachings of the Dharma is the teachings on the profound dependent originations and the profound suchness. In other words, the profound thusness is said to be the supreme among all the teachings of the Dharma.
所以呢，这个一切的这个教法的当中呢，宣说这个甚深缘起空性的呢，是最殊胜的。 Okay.
Oh yeah. Dadi gimse di da druje da gari yorse na ani jerim chegi dam tende tebe na garson resen tembe ningbu tongba ni je dang sirwa dene tembe na ne tende temba da sherab na ne tende sheba ni mar sherab na ne tende sheba ni jigdin da ne je ombo shins purjun legbar köken jengi min islam ne dadi druje re sherwa.
So therefore it says why it is so supreme among all those teachings of the Dharma. Here, then citing from the praise to dependent originations by Lama Tsongkhapa, but says the essence of the teachings among all the teachings is the teachings of the emptiness. In other words, the emptiness, teachings of the emptiness is said to be the essence of all the teachings. And then also the supreme among all the teacher is someone who actually gave the teachings on the dependent originations. And then also the supreme among all this ascertainment is the wisdom ascertaining the dependent originations.
这个景慧可不可以放下一页了？所以在这里呢，就讲到说，在这里为什么说到这个讲这个缘起空性呢，是最殊胜的呢？那在这里最主要就是引这个宗喀巴大师在缘起赞里面讲到说，教法心要乃空性。OK， 在缘起赞呢，宗大师又讲到说，诸说之中缘起说，智慧之中缘起慧，二如世间诸圣王。世尊善达于非能 ，OK。
Oh yeah, that pesi ngani diba sha ko mendo. Ta dirang ngani megi shungwe shi kang ma le tu mas te dang ngani sangin ngani da ke yu chik je de tes le ha do me yo. Ta kon zo diu che dirang da diu yong ai gimsen da uchi me. Ani diu yo na chik diu ina.
So we will stop here with this today, and so next time when we give the teaching, so there will be only one translator, so it is it will consume less time. So with the two translators, it's taking a lot of time. So therefore, we hope that next time there will be only one translator, so it will be more convenient for all of us. And so we haven't been able to touch the actual body of the teachings of the text, the meaning of the text. So therefore, I'm pretty sure that there may not have any questions, but if you have any questions, we'll take a few questions.
所以给莎拉说呢，我们今天呢就到这里。那这个下一次呢，因为我们只有一个翻译，只有一个中文翻译，所以呢时间上呢会更节省一点，那可以教得更快一点。那今天呢，事实上我们还没有真正讲到这个正文，所以呢，他感觉上呢，大家应该没什么问题。不过大家有问题的话，还是可以提出来。大家有问题吗？
Pese yo mar diring diu yo mar sam du gimsen ga me ba. Ngai yung na ma ro.
Geshe-la, I have one question.
Yes.
Can I, the author of this commentary, can you give us the brief introduction to the author of this commentary?
제와 좀 남긴데 약용 로기 도도 지수 남겼습니다.
Ale dati logi ngaye dan di logi jig rag de jig tebe indi logi di kasebu jra masuda ngala.
So unfortunately, I have not actually found any clearer, the backgrounds of the commentator.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Dangi dede jig sedu de kasangal diwa jeju jenge jig tes tungnu jiras. Nima tanda drogun chöge pabeki tanda sacha di dirishangani diansang ki dusyo liya kanlu lapsa ki sacha nanglo la ani choni zongse jores diliya ani drogun chöge pabekab liya sage gomba cha tab yores ani chisu ani gelul chu gyurne ani tanda di choni rembuchi kabli deni gelul pa gyurne odus chebre se The
only the backgrounds of this commentator that I have found is very brief. It's a very brief. It's just, in fact, it's just one line. And so here it says, the monastery where this commentator belongs to is in the monastery.
Diansanggi saji kondu danda gyanagi di pa saji gosha gyashakbe nangla ya kanlu bori rangyong kul slamne o dinde jirisha.
Kanlu. The place called Kanlu, where
saji di mingla Johnny Zong slamne saji korong mingredu danda Johnny Rinpoche slamne saji korong dinde tashe gyorish.
And also the name of this actual place is called Choni Zong, which is the region of that name of that region is called Chongni. And because the Rinpoche who gave the commentary was born in the Chongni place, therefore he was called Chongni Rinpoche, right? It's just his name of his region. And so the monastery where he belongs to was established very long time ago during the Sagya master Dungun Chöge Papa. But then later on, that Sagya monastery was then converted into a Geluk monastery, where then the Chongni Rinpoche become a head of this monastery. And this is the only, the story that I have about this commentator.
Thank you, Geshe-la. 所以呢，刚刚我的问题呢是说想Geshe-la给我们稍微介绍一下这个扎巴西珠尊珠，也就是这个心经释论的这个作者。那Geshe-la说呢，事实上呢，他并没有什么找不到任何有关于这个作者的详细资料。那只知道呢，这个作者呢是从一个甘入这个寺庙出来的。那这个甘入寺庙呢，事实上是在这个珠内这个地方。那所以这个扎巴西珠尊者呢，事实上也被我们通常称为这个珠内仁波切。那这个他所在的这个寺庙呢，最早呢是由这个扎迦派所创立的。那后来呢，就是变成了一个这个格鲁帕的一个寺庙。所以呢，并对这个释论的作者呢，并没有什么太多的详细资料。那大家还有其他的问题吗？Geshe-la, I think there's no question.
Oh yeah, dene nga dande di donan jigi yesruwa nga dande jumla di nga di sherab ningbu gi dendi nga dolang da masa paru de la ra sona gadyu ra ne nga kyunzo le she gosruwa nga di
I'm so interested in trying to find the detailed story about the Chongni Rinpoche, and hopefully that I will be able to find about his the story of this Chongni Rinpoche before we finish the teachings of Heart Sutra. So whenever I find the story, then I will share with you all.
所以呢，Geshe-la说呢，他会努力的呢去找一下有没有这个珠内仁波切更详细的这个生平介绍。那他说，如果说他找到了，他就会在这个我们这个不管是哪一堂课呢，就会跟我们大家分享。OK, Geshe-la.
Oh yeah, 가르친 디 마부 시우지도 단데 디게 송분 폐제 뻗 주로 집중 제사리 어디 이제 배드 동아 이게 나라 전체단 제바 마부 시우지도.
So this Chongni Rinpoche is not only composed this Heart Sutra commentary, but he has written many texts, so much so that there are 16 or 17 volumes of his text that is composed by him, including ritual performance and so on.
所以呢，这个般若心经释论的这个作者琼内仁波切呢，他不但是造了这个心经的释论，而且呢，他事实上他还铸造了16部、17部的这个大典。那中间呢，也不光是这个显称的，还包括了许多这个各种仪轨的讲解等等。OK。
那说等等当然的人的下下是吧？但你们人不修加上去。So
with this, we will stop our teachings here.
所以呢，我们今天就到这里结束。